So Vijay, you want to take these questions basically kind of like, to begin with, just to give a warm up from the last session we had. So we did one
Right, right.
session of basics of iNaturalist that was taken care by Pasindo. But before I give it to Vijay, I would like to just introduce Vijay to you all. Most of you would already be knowing him, but still. So Vijay Barve has been a big supporter for all the citizen science initiatives which we are doing. The Asia Nature Challenge was started by Citizen Science Asia and the Naturalist School. And Vijay Barve was one of the first people to kind of like, be a big supporter for this thing. So Vijay is working with the Naturalist History Museum of Los Angeles. And also he's part of the GBIF Asia support team. He's one of the pioneers who started the citizen science for biodiversity documentation long back, and this has been many decades. He has been actively pushing everyone in the citizen science community. So I'll give it over to Vijay. Maybe just briefly talk about these 5 questions which we just now talked about to kind of like brush our skills on the basics of iNaturalist, and then I'll request him to start with this session.
Oh, sorry, I'm not able to see the questions right now. Is it
Uh,
like possible for you to show it or? Ah, yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
okay,
perfect,
okay.
perfect.
I'm sharing
Yeah,
again. So
yeah.
yes.
So, yeah, good evening, everyone. I think most of you are in some part of evening time right now. Just one warning, there is a big storm happening right now, and I'm losing power on and off. So in case I'm just like totally cut off, that's the reason I'm not disappearing. So yeah, getting to the questions. First question is about uploading a photo of a tree that I planted. Should I mark it captive? And I think most other people have got it right. Uh, it's always good to mark anything that we know for sure is captive or cultivated as captive. I'm uploading a photo of a butterfly see on this tree. Should I mark it? Yeah, so that is not captive because the butterfly is a free moving animal which happened to come here unless you have got the caterpillars or eggs from some other place and reared it into captivity. Uh, it is supposed to be natural there. So most of the people again have marked it right. Can I upload sound recording of bird? Yes, obviously sound recordings are most welcome. Birds, frogs, some of the insects like katydids and cicadas can be identified in most cases. Uh, just
Uh,
hearing the sound. So it's
లేదు.
always good to uh, upload the sound recordings also is a good thing. In every observation, I must reinsure date. Obviously, date, time, and location are the most important aspects of any biodiversity occurrence record. So, uh, I like to say that biodiversity occurrence record is like a tripod, and it rests on 3 legs. One is the date time, second is the location, and third is the identity. Any of the leg is not present, then it tends to lean and fall. In the sense, it doesn't remain that useful a record. So always think of a tripod when you think of a biodiversity occurrence record, and that's the reason you need to ensure the date time is correct because date gives idea of the seasonality. Location is obviously a very important thing because we want to always look at um, uh, the the diversity and distribution. Both both we can derive from the location. So yeah, both are very important. And I'm uploading a photo of insect, but I don't know what species it is. Yeah, obviously, if you don't know what species it is, always keep on going to the higher taxonomic level and select whatever you can with comfort. As much as possible, do not leave anything as empty. Uh, if you think it is animal, start there in animal. If it is arthropod, if it is insect, whatever it is, try to provide at some level so that anyone looking to identify those can reach that and kind of uh, push it to the next level by that person's knowledge. So yeah, these are the questions, and I think most of the people who are um, on this presentation seem to be familiar with that. So some part of what I'm um, presenting might be uh, a repetition, but I will anyway go through some of these slides quickly, and then we will have more time to talk about a lot of other things. So, as I already mentioned, I'm using this slide deck from iNaturalist that they have created to kind of give a brief idea of how to use some of these things. So, how to make good observations is one of the most important things that we need to be telling all the new members or the citizen scientists who are trying to participate. So four really basic things that you need to be doing is always try to take a clear picture. Focus on wild organisms. Don't spend your time on potted plants or uh, things that are pets. Uh, so, as we always say, avoid the PPPs, the planted, the pet, and the people. Document the location. Make sure that it is documented to whatever precision you can, and always add some kind of identification. So, for taking close pictures, it's mm, always good to try and show the features. So, um, close-ups are always useful. Not just don't take the picture on the left and try to and hope that people would identify it. Also take the picture on the right, something similar close by, and try to show the show the characters to that. Try to kind of clearly focus. If the picture is blurry, take more pictures. I always tend to take 2 or 3 pictures of anything because many times when you are taking picture, you do not realize how good or bad those are. So taking multiple pictures is helpful, and then use only those that you feel are useful. And also try to show different characters or parts of the organism, because even though sometimes you don't know what it is, multiple angles always helps the experts, the people who know about the organism, to distinguish between sometimes closely related species. So take multiple shots. Uh, the focus when you are taking pictures should be on naturally occurring organisms. So wild versus captive slash cultivated. We already have discussed this point in our quiz too. So basically, avoid pets and planted animals. Uh, and in case sometimes if you are making a record, make sure that you are um, indicating that it is captive or cultivated. Especially in my case, many times I make records of cultivated plants, sometimes to ascertain the um, biotic interactions. Like if I see a butterfly is feeding on a particular plant, then I make a, even though it's a planted, I make a record for that and try to um, get that particular plant identified so that I can uh, note the biotic interaction in different ways. I will definitely talk about it later in the session. Yeah, documentation of location is very important. Always try to provide as precise information as possible. Don't just say, "Oh, I saw this in Maharashtra," or "Oh, I saw this in Madhya Pradesh." That is not sufficient. Try to go as um, mm, precise as possible, with the exception of if you think that that particular species is threatened, but it is not marked on iNaturalist as threatened, then you can uh, give a little a kind of spoof location, but otherwise try to provide as precise location as possible. And it is also interesting and useful many times to provide habitat shots. Many times I try to do that so that we get an idea of what kind of habitat the plant or animal prefer. And then always try to put some identification, and so that it is not like totally unknown as a record, but there is something there. And if you use computer vision, you can always um, kind of, if you are comfortable identifying that particular organism, you can always select that, or you can leave the identifications at genus or family level, whatever you feel comfortable with. And yeah, so basically make sure that whatever uh, so if you think, okay, this is butterfly, you just write it as butterflies. If you think, no, I know that this is butterfly, but this is a lycaenid, a member of blues family, then you can try and write lycaenidae as its identification. So yeah, try to do that so that then anyone who is looking at lycaenidae can quickly help you, rather than totally something or just a butterfly ID. There are a few slides now on tips on when you are photographing different groups of organism, what what needs to be captured and what is useful. So I have used these hints a few times, so I thought I will share this. So for trees and shrubs, leaves, uh, capturing how the leaves are looking are important. Sometimes we just tend to capture flowers and miss out on that. So try to do that. If you see flowers, basically, definitely you need, but if you also see, say, buds or fruits or any other structures, that also we should try to capture. Sometimes some, especially trees, bark is characteristic. So if you see, you can take a picture of a bark, you can take a picture of a whole tree to kind of show habit and branching pattern. And whatever basically you see, you should try to capture when it comes to trees. For flowers and weeds, yeah, obviously close-ups of flowers, and then from a distance how the flowers look, the leaf, the whole plant arrangement, things like that. So basically, try to capture as much as possible when you are trying to record plants. In mushrooms, top and underside views of the mushroom are important and many times help in distinguishing. So try to do that. And also sometimes the substratum is important. Well, was it just in soil, or was it in wood, rotten wood, or live tree, or whatever it is? That is also very important. And as mentioned here, the clustering structure of that particular mushroom is also useful. For butterflies and moths, butterflies, if you can, uh, top view and bottom view of the wings, or as we call under wings and upper wings, are very important. For moths, uh, top of the view and overall shape are characteristics. Moth families are decided looking at the shape of their wings and how the moths have settled. Sometimes I see people just take picture of a head of a moth and try to identify. That's like very that's impossible in most cases. So top of the wings and overall shape for moths is very important. For beetles and bugs, a dorsal view, if you can close up of the head, and uh, any other interesting characters that you see should be captured for beetles and bugs. So that's the a quick overview of how to better make records. Obviously, this section does not have the um, audio part, but in audio, again, try to record audio which is reasonably clear, and try to record audio where the the audio or the sound of whatever animal you are trying to record is the dominant one, because many times in nature there are multiple sounds. So in that case, you need to be trying to record only that specific uh, bird or animal as close as that, so that it's easier for the mm, person identifying how to kind of distinguish in that. So these are basically some of the basics. Then I'll now quickly touch upon some of the identification aspects, like uh, for Asia Nature Challenge, it is equally important to also identify the records, not just to make a lot of records, but also help other members in the community to identify, and help ourselves in some cases to identify. So uh, that is a very important aspect, and everyone should try to do it to their capacity. Again, uh, it's very important to do it only up to the level that you are comfortable with and you are confident with. Do not try to overdo it, but do not also try to avoid it completely. You should find that fine line for you, basically, and that's very important. And here are some of the kind of tips and tricks to do that. So yeah, who can identify? Obviously, anyone can identify, but that does not mean that if you do not have any knowledge, start identifying. Like, I cannot go and say start identifying wasp and bees of South America. I don't have a knowledge. I can do maybe to some extent butterflies of India, to some extent butterflies of North America, and parts of Africa. That is what I'm familiar with. When it comes to other insects within India and North America, I know few groups reasonably well. So I try to kind of restrict myself to that. For some groups, I have kind of slightly better knowledge and experience across the globe. I try to do that a little bit. So that's what. Just decide and just follow that you're not overdoing it, but also make sure that you are doing it to some level so that you are helping the community. So mm, there are a lot of recommendations and best practices. So there are a lot of documentation and discussion, but I'll just go through some of the points that again iNaturalist folks have listed for us. So when you are adding or agreeing to any identification, uh, just make sure that whatever image or sound you see should be kind of supportive or sufficient to do that. And then again, we can never stress it enough that just go up to the taxonomic level that you are comfortable with, or that is shown by the thing. If you think that okay, I'm not sure whether it is this species or that species, you can always leave it at at genus level. So always keep that in mind to not um, it's not the goal that push all the records to some species level and research grade. If it is not correct, it is actually adding more noise or trouble than not having that data. So need to make sure uh, keep that balance. If you are not familiar with bulk identification, here are some tips. There is identify kind of menu item or button which takes us to the identify page. So when if you just click on that, it will give you all the records that need identify across the globe. And again, as I said, uh, no one is really expert in everything across the globe. So we want to uh, kind of filter it a little bit. If you just think that, okay, for Asia Nature Challenge, let me go to all the records that people have just said unknown, and then start putting them, oh, this is a plant, oh, this is an insect, oh, this is a butterfly, or this is this family butterfly, whatever it is. This is how you do it. You basically go to identify, click on filter, and then select the unknown button, so that if you see in the bottom box, all the records with unknown are listed here, and this is what you can kind of then start following. Okay, this one looks like a bird. Let me click on that and see, assign it to bird. If I say, oh, okay, I know it's not, I not only know that it is bird, but I can also see it's from the ducks family. So then you can assign. Sometimes you might just know it. And if you are kind of filtering it also based on the place, then it makes it much easier. You may be familiar a lot about things in your country or around your state. You can always select that in place and do that. So always use those filter and then use this unknown filter and start sorting them into kind of relevant bins. So you can always, yeah, click on add ID, and then you can uh, use the option. And as I said, you can just start um, mm, sorting all these records into whatever taxonomic level you can quickly do it. You don't have to like spend a lot of time on each and every record and go very deep up to species level. Whatever uh, closer to the group you can push, that is always very helpful. Like they have shown here, from unknown to fungi, including lichens, is good because there are some people who might be just expert of fungus, and they can just come and then start putting it into families or whatever group they are familiar with. So you can add multiple filters. You can uh, put a filter something like, okay, I just want to do say swallowtails, and I want to do it only for my state, and then filter on that, and start uh, providing identifications to the swallowtail butterflies of that particular region and things like that. So adding those identifications are fairly simple and straightforward. The menus are pretty self-explanatory, so you can start doing it using different filters and helping in the identification. So are we already okay? It's already half an hour, so I will probably stop here and let's try to address any specific questions. And again, this I do not want to be like a totally uh, me trying to answer all the questions, because I know there are a lot of uh, experts and power users on this call, and we can all kind of uh, discuss and try to answer questions, if any. So, Ram, you want me to go through the chat questions, or you want to moderate the questions?
Ashwin, did you see if you have any questions in the chat already?
We don't have any questions.
Okay.
Okay, so should we just like raise hand and start with questions?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, anyone has any questions can. Yes, Scott.
Hi, Vijay. I'm, if you can hear me, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
quite a proficient user, but the thing that I'm just not used to the sound part. Like
Mhm.
last week, there was some frogs, and I tried to record it, and I hoped it would like recognize the species or give me some kind of, but it didn't. It didn't do anything. So, can you say a little bit more on how it works with sound? Because that's my kind of deficiency, I think.
I think there are two issues with in general sound identification. One is they are less appealing to many people. Like you see a beautiful picture and you want to jump on and give identification. When it sound, it just shows you a little box, and I think a lot of people are okay. I need to go and do that. And in general, uh, there is a lack of uh, expertise in general where people can actually identify the sounds. I know in frogs community there are a lot of people who do it, but again we are not sure how many of them are on iNaturalist and actively looking for sounds. So I do not have a lot of sound records, but what I tend to do is I tend to tag some of the people who I feel might be familiar with that group of organisms. So, like for example, in India, if I'm doing that, I try to reach out to someone like Guru Raja, who I know is a frog person and is familiar with the frogs of Western Ghats. I try to reach to him and say, okay, this is the record. Can you kind of look at it? So yeah, that's my understanding. If anyone wants to add to that, most welcome.
Uh, I recently come across with this Chrome extension. I put the link in the chat section here. So one of
Uh-huh.
the things with the sound recording is when we put this is very dry, it just shows us that thing here. It doesn't show the spectrogram. So using these extensions, at least we can see when we play the sound, like the spectrogram there. But overall, I think that's a a very important thing that right now, uh, although the sound numbers are increasing on iNaturalist, but still the comfort level with the sound is still not that high, and people are not uploading much and not being getting the identification.
And is the AI not, is it just not trained enough with the AI? Because when I thought it would recognize it was a frog, right? It was a very distinctive frog, and it didn't even, so then I had to just kind of go like, oh, okay, frog. But it would be nice if, I suppose it just needs more data, right? But I didn't know if I was doing something wrong, or it's not trained enough yet to do to give you suggestions. So
Yeah, I mean, as Gaurav has put there, I share my Merlin identification sound file as observation if that helps. Yeah, so that's what I also do, especially when it comes to birds. I will recognize them with Merlin and then I will upload them on iNet, like the recorded thing, what they suggested. But the issue with iNet is I think they do not have enough sound recordings with them for their computer vision to be able to identify new sound recordings. So I think we are far away at that place, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. It still needs to mature.
Yeah. And Jeffrey is asking, could we have suggestion for names of people whom we can tag for sounds? Unfortunately, that is also not enabled on iNet right now. Today, if I select, let's say, butterflies or like a particular group of butterflies, it gives me suggestion of top identifiers in that particular taxa that you can tag these people. But when it comes to there is no specific filter where I can see how many people are identifying sounds more. So I don't think we have a easy way of tagging, finding people who can help with the sounds.
Right. So
Yeah, Vijay, you can take the question from the chat.
how to check identification keys while identification? So you are looking at, if you are talking of keys from published literature and books, I think uh, at least I do it all the time. Always look at um, keys that are provided and see if any of the characters are seen there. But I have been doing it mostly manually opening two windows, but I don't know if that is what you expected, Kedar, or are you?
Yeah, so actually I got to know that for some species there are identification keys now added on iNet. So I don't know how to use that feature if it's available.
So
I have not really explored that. Has anyone explored that?
Okay.
So yeah, so that feature is actually disabled or kind of like no longer supported by iNet. I think they tried it long back, but then they, there is no uniformity. So the old guides will still be there on iNaturalist. You will be able to see them if you find in some corners of iNaturalist, but it's not active.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Uh,
And also, I have a second question. So, if there are two close species, for example, Sahyadri firings or Sahyadri baby firings, sometimes it happens that iNet gives a wrong suggestion. So, how to basically give the feedback for improvement?
I don't think they have it right now. There is some work that is going on right now to improve the identifications as well as uh, helping in quoting certain literature and stuff like that. I think that will be that should be much more efficient 6 to 8 months down the line. But for the time being, as many research grade records are there for closely related species, the model might improve. But some of these kind of cryptic species, it is going to be always tough. And I think what iNaturalist is working right now is giving that caution to the users when it's giving you this kind of very closely related confusing IDs as result of AI. It should come with a caution saying I'm saying this, but it could be this kind of thing. And I think they are working on
Yeah.
it. But yeah, for the time being, yeah, Shamji, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I also request to the all participants, maybe these annotations is also going to be very important, like dead animal, like one of my students working on a roadkill. So if there is a dead, you put a dead animal, so it is helping to filter them out. As well as I'm a plant ecologist, so like a phenological data, either is a plant is in a flowering stage or is a fruiting stage also. So these annotations is going to be very big way to work on ecological biodiversity related things. So if you are not comfortable with the naming and other things, you just do the annotations later part. So this annotation is going to be great help to the ecologist or the biodiversity people who are using these data. So that is a most of the easy time. Whenever I put my observations, later I used to put the annotations. Yeah.
Yeah, great point. I also try to go back, and so while uploading, I typically use bulk upload from laptop. So I just put it, then I go back from one by one and try to put both annotations and in some cases also observation. Observation fields is also a very useful or an important thing, especially if you are familiar with certain observation fields which you really like. Like I personally like the interaction part a lot, and there are multiple interaction standardized kind of observation fields, and I find it very useful to denote those interactions, especially when insect or a butterfly feeding on a flower, the pollinator or that kind of interaction is very useful. And when you indicate those interactions, uh, the research grade data is not only contributed to GB, but it also goes to other global database, which is Global Biotic Interaction Database or GLOBI, and all your records are also contributing to that. So I mean, it's always good and interesting to post more and more records, but it's also very useful and important to go back and work on the quality of your data, every individual record, and in the biodiversity data realm, what we use as fitness for use. So you are drastically improving that use by annotating and adding observation fields to multiple research projects where you are readily then making that data available, which otherwise the researcher has to go each record one by one and do it. But if you kind of pre-process that, if you just it's just like ticking a couple of boxes for you, but that makes like thousands and thousands of records available to the researcher who is doing it. As Shamji just said, someone looking at for dead animals, or someone looking at just the larva of a particular insect or something, it readily becomes available. We have done multiple projects where we have looked at tens of thousands of iNaturalist records that manually score these. But if you preload it, it's amazingly helpful, and that's what we should try to do it as much as possible. Okay, what next? Gaurav is suggesting, can we have a poll on how many users go back to the observations, analyze or revisit their data after the challenge is over? Very interesting question. I don't know, Ram, if you want to really launch a poll and see how many of them do it, but my observation is most of the users who are kind of long-term users, who are not just event users, are doing that. But some of the people who are just there for the event just tend to post it and kind of disappear. But a lot of
Yeah.
users, repeated events, are now becoming regular users and doing it.
Yeah.
Ram, you wanted to
So
add something?
yeah. So I was just saying that usually what I notice is that as Vijay rightly said, people who are coming there initially, they would not check. So what happened recently, while we're looking for tiger beetles here in Hyderabad, we found one odd tiger beetle observation from one part of the city, and then we wanted to, like, we all were very excited that we should go back there and see whether that observation is there, or, like, that species is there or not, because that was very unique. After a while, we contacted that person, sent message on iNaturalist, and then we realized the photo looked very perfect, and the person was not responding. We noticed that the observation came from last year's City Missile Challenge, and that person just uploaded 10-20 photos, out of which half of them were downloaded from internet. So that person never opened the iNaturalist again. So it took us a while, kind of like, to figure that thing out, and then we calmed ourselves. So these issues will be there. But what I noticed is that while there are people like this who are, like, just doing some things for some biobleeds, they might be doing it right, they might be doing it wrong, and they will just simply vanish. But if someone stays on iNaturalist for, let's say, more than 3 months, then it's like, forever user. Then they will check and all these things. So that's a general observation.
Yeah, I also add, like, it's like addictions. Whenever I'm waiting any queue anywhere, so I used to do these annotations with my phone. Even if I'm in any conference and seminar, the talk is going to be boring, I'm using my annotations in my iNet platform. So it is always be rewarding when you go back and you enjoy. So enjoy. It's like visiting, and you don't know. Someday you feel you have a listed maybe the 1,000 of the observations, and then maybe 500 species. So other day I was looking, I was just crossed the 800 species already. Although my observation is not that much, but the species is more than 800. So that give a lot of satisfactions and other things. And you feel connected with the nature. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a very interesting question from Shahzad. Sometimes someone misidentifies our correct species. and how can I fix it and prevent misidentification? Vijay, you want to take that?
Yeah, so there are two ways to do it. One is you can restrict other people to identify, but that I personally don't like it because then it's only your kind of thing. So what I prefer to do in case of such misidentifications is then I reach out to experts. I or my community friends who I know are reasonably good with that group. So like just to give an example, for India we have this whole set of WhatsApp and Facebook communities for every taxonomic group. So I just reach out to that community and say, hey, look, this seems to be some misidentification or misunderstanding, and I feel this is this particular butterfly or insect. And then typically two or three people just at least go and visit that and help me correct that. I think that's the easiest approach. I feel that is, and that works in most cases.
Hmm.
For some reason, if one or two of your records are not reaching um, a research grade because of that, it doesn't make a big difference. But keeping it open and keeping it more um, collaborative, I think takes you the long way. I hope I have kind of addressed the question.
Yeah. And also, like what I noticed is, and like not only noticed, but on iNet, 2/3 of the people must agree to something to like be considered that identification. So one way is if, like, let's say 6 people have identified and 3 people have said wrong identification. All you have to do is to get more number of people to put the correct ID so that the incorrect ID is suppressed. So that is one way. And Gaurav has put out a very good, suggestion in this, that you can always have an option to opt out of the community identification. So, but as he also said that, but that kind of like defeats the purpose of community-based identification. So that, but I think overall, because of this 2/3 rule, it should not be that difficult to, like if we
Yeah,
know.
and yeah. What I was
Yeah.
saying was I have also observed if people realize that they have made mistakes, most of them are still active. They come back and they fix it. I mean,
Yeah.
I tend to fix my misidentification a lot of times because sometimes whatever you are seeing, it seems to be that, and then someone says, no, no, but I see this character or this is the thing. I immediately kind of go back, and if I'm convinced what the other person is has said, I will flip my ID, or sometimes I'll just withdraw my ID, saying, okay, I'm
Yeah.
not sure when you're at this saying. So once I withdraw my ID, whoever has like the 2/3 this thing and understanding, it automatically is pushed to this thing. My wrong identification basically should hinder their discussion is what, in cases where I'm not very familiar with the topic. If I'm familiar with the topic, I always go, I might read some literature or refer more pictures and then take a stand one way or the other.
Vijay, there is a one question, like maybe a lot of people will get benefited out of that. Let's say we do a lot of plantations work. So like, first questions we have like a tree planted somewhere. So like if the tree is already wild, let's say we put a Dalbergia sisu in some university campus or some where plantations area, and now it is, although the planted or it is called or cultivated, but it is in original native place. So what should that confusion maybe need to be, it is not so it treated if it is not because we know our urban tree, the 50% urban tree is not native one. They are planted, because if you go to the Chennai and you go to the Hyderabad, the same tree is planted in a roadside. So they treated as a cultivated or domesticated, or they treated as a wild.
It is always tricky with trees
Yeah.
because I mean there are some trees which are there for 50 or 100 years, and they have become part of the ecosystem so much that does it really matter whether that is cultivated or not? And for trees, many times, I mean, I'm concerned especially with the exotics that are specifically planted for a purpose. Again, there is another aspect of naturalized. I mean, sometimes we know that this species is exotic, but now it's growing on its own everywhere.
Yeah.
So, how do we really treat it?
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, I'm not too much concerned about marking it as cultivated when
Yeah,
it
because why
seems
I'm
to
asking
be.
these questions, recently we use the GBIF data as well as the iNaturalist data to make a inventory of the urban tree of the India. So even if so, then we wanted to how many are the invasive one, how many was the introduced, native, all kind of the IUCN categories and all kinds of things. So we found it a very useful even if you are putting them and you're putting them there. So if they are there, so we can get okay like the real story of the especially in urban ecology is going to be play a big role. So in even instead of not putting them, I will suggest, especially the tree, to put them and you maybe use as a cultivator because then we can filter out that it is a naturalized or it is already introduced in the research. So we can get a lot of data information out of that. But
Yeah.
potted plants surely not. Potted plants should not be there. Yeah. But these
So,
big tree and all these things should be if they are already there. So that should be also part of that INET flow.
so I think we should just try to remember the original definition of wild versus not wild, and then these thin lines will always come. So we just have to see whether we want to stay on this line or that. But I just want to reiterate on the definition of what is wild and what is not wild, if it is captive, cultivated, whatever. If a wildlife is there because you wanted it there, then it is captive or cultivated. It is either captive or cultivated. If that is not the case, then it is wild. So for me, or like let's say for someone else who do not really know about all these plants and all, but I've seen a plant that has grown there. Nobody has put it up there. It might have been planted the previous tree from which this has grown, but that is wild for sure for me on the in that particular incident. So uh, whether it has come from outside and not native, non-native, that's a different story. But from the iNaturalist perspective, I think we can keep it very simple. That if someone has planted it, or if someone has bought an animal there, you mark it non-wild, captive, cultivated. If it has come freely, it has grown freely, then just leave it as wild. So one more thing on the previous question about the identifications, I put a link of how to find your own Maverick IDs. That is one thing I do very regularly. Sometimes what happens when we put initially, I might have put some wrong identification even at a at a higher taxonomic level, and then later on someone comes and says, "Oh, this is not an insect. This is something else." So that my observation will go as a Maverick, although it will not really affect the community ID because again, as I said, 2/3 of the people have to agree on that. So most likely my identification is not creating any issue there, but still you can go and fix your identification which are considered as Maverick. And for those who don't know, the Maverick IDs are basically something which I'm proposing strongly against what the community is saying. Everyone is saying this is an insect, or everyone is saying this is not an insect. Let's say spider, everyone is saying, and I might have put bite, insect by mistake. So that's Maverick ID.
It's kind of unique and only person kind of saying it is the Maverick idea. There's one question from Sachin Gurule. He's asking about some species or taxa not shown on iNaturalist versus some are shown but there are no records. So Sachin, iNaturalist is trying to have a complete backbone of life on Earth, and sometimes so initially a lot of names were brought in from major international initiatives like um, Catalog of Life, and there are certain uh, complete checklists for the world. Like you have dragonflies of the world, you have reptile database, you have amphibian database, mammal database. So lot of the original species names have come from that, and then whatever new species or whatever missing species, as and when people bring it up and request, those can be added by curators. So that is how the whole backbone taxonomy is done, and that's the reason sometimes you might find some wrong names or some synonyms, two different synonyms as two different entities and things like that, because it's a continuous process of curation. And the best way to do it is flag those and write a note saying, oh, this seems to be wrong name, or this seems to be a synonym of something, but both entities are available. You can similarly flag the genus and request to add species. Once you flag that, various curators can see that particular flag request and then can take action to resolve those.
Yeah. So I'm putting a lot of links with the questions. I will request others on the call to please check the chat and provide your useful suggestions, because there are a lot of really interesting questions. For example, the question from Nina about any observation coming from, like, sensitive or under protected areas. So the question is, what should we do with this? So I put the link of obscuring location. So basically you can in the location, you can either obscure it or mark it private. That is one of the best practices which can be followed. Okay, anyone else wants to ask the question? Can a non-native
Or
species...
Ashwin, any questions that we missed?
No, I guess not. Covered pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, there are lots of discussions going on in the chat section. So I hope all of these things are covered, but if it is not covered, you can ask now. There's one thing on, can introduced be called wild, then feral? Yeah, I mean, whether it is introduced or how it is introduced is a separate thing on iNaturalist. But as I said, we can just focus on wild or not wild. While uploading the observation, all we have to care about is it wild or is it non-wild? So non-wild means domesticated, it can be captive or cultivated. So that is one thing. But when it goes to metadata at a taxonomic level, then there is a question of whether it is introduced by humans or what other means. So iNaturalist has few of those things.
For that, it is much easy. Like recently, there is one kangaroo spotted in Bengal, West Bengal, and it was become a big, how the kangaroo is in West Bengal. Then it came to later, someone bring it is like through the illegal route from the Bangladesh is entered to the Bengal, and after it realized you cannot put it as a pet, they release it in the wild. So if you see this kind of thing, so they definitely be kind of the cultivated or captive, although they just release them in wild. So kangaroo is not supposed to be in India. Similarly, the zebra is not supposed to be in India. So even you see them in the wild.
Yeah. And also, I think we should just keep this question very simple, because again, one of the chat questions is, how should we identify a feral rock pigeon, a domesticated or not? Clearly wild. See, as I told you, if the pigeon is in your home or in your garden or in your terrace because you wanted it there, no, you didn't want it there. It has just come there. So we are talking about only that particular animal or that particular life. We are not talking about the whole species, whether the species has come to India because someone wanted or not, or how did it come. We are just talking about then one particular thing. If it is a plant, did you plant it there like a tree? Yes or no? That's the very simple question. Similarly, if it is an animal, did someone bring the animal by force to that place, or the animal came by itself? So the pigeon has come there by itself. It is non-wild. If I if it is a pet, let's say parrot or parakeet or pigeon or something, then it is not wild. Okay, I think many really interesting questions. So what I will do is we will also pull out all these discussion which are happening in the chat section, and at least the links we will share along with the summary of what you discussed, so that others can also go and check the chat, the discussion which is happening in the chat, because a lot is happening and it's very difficult to catch up with that. Okay, so if there are no more questions, then we can wind up the call. Just a last kind of like call for everyone if they want to ask any questions. Okay, I think we have no more questions. So I would like to thank Vijay very much for coming and like having this discussion. We have the Asian HC Challenge from October 3rd till October 6th, and I'm very happy to kind of like share with everyone that this year the response to Asian HC Challenge has been phenomenal. We have received more than 100 applications for the like from organizations to become the collaborative organization from on ground, and that too from different regions of Asia. So although we still need more countries or regions to be represented there, but at least we have like more than 100 people, which is more than double the numbers what we got last year, and we were able to reach out or reach to these many of the areas which we were not able to reach last year. So an amazing response from people from all corners of Asia. So we are looking forward for contribution from all of you. Please spread the word about Asian HC Challenge, spread the word about iNaturalist in the meantime, and looking forward to your contributions during the ANC. So with that, I will thank Vijay again and all of the participants. This was really very, very good discussion which happened today. Many really interesting questions. It shows, like how the community is growing together. What kind of questions are we asking is the first thing, how we can see if we are growing or not. So we definitely see a very good improvement, or like, I'll not say improvement, the kind of questions which we are getting. So it clearly shows that we are reaching to that level where many people are doing amazing contributions. And as we use the app more and more, we will definitely come up with even more questions. So as Vijay was saying, one of the ways to do these things correctly, or maybe to discuss these things, is using these WhatsApp groups. So in India, we already have, but we have many people from other regions. So again, in the ANC WhatsApp community, so we have a Citizen Science About Asia's WhatsApp community where we have Asian HC Challenges a WhatsApp group. There's also a group for ANC Tech Help, where you can ask any questions related to iNaturalist app or website. And there is also one WhatsApp group for the IDing related discussions there. So you are most likely, you are most welcome to go ahead and put your request there and help others who need who have asked for their help in the identifications for their observations. Okay, so with that, I would like to thank you everyone again and say goodbye. See you again in the next session. Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.